Hi everyone, my name is Matt and this is Starflight Creations, my channel where I talk about my stitching. Here today I'm going to do my whip parade for the end of the year of 2025. Since I did start my floss tube in August of 2025, I won't have the pictures to show at the beginning of the year, but I will have stats for most of them, and I will have pictures taken today, so that way at the end of 2026 we can look back to see the progress that has been made on them. I am mostly a full coverage stitcher with a lot of projects that have recently been started in 2025 or 2024, so not a lot of progress on them, which I'm hoping to make in the next year. So to start off, I will do my oldest whip, work in progress, which is the Animal Crossing Stitch Along by Stuart Cunningham. Here's what it will look like when it is finished. I started this in November 15th of 2020 on a 14 count blue Ada. I'm currently at 1,571 stitches of 8,068 stitches, but that does not include any of the characters inside the frame, inside the blue square or green squares. So I'm at 19.5% of the outer frame, and here is where I'm at. So I just recently got this one in Pattern Keeper this year and was able to get stats for it, which was nice. It really moved along a lot faster once I got into Pattern Keeper, and I was able to figure out a couple of mistakes I had made. Unfortunately, I also realized I wasn't nearly as far along as I thought I was. I was like, wow, I'm almost, done with this frame. I think I'm doing really good. And then I realized that I'm not even a fifth of the way done with the frame. So there was a lot more stitches hidden in there than I thought there were. But that is currently my oldest whip, and one that I am looking to get a large amount of progress on next year. My next one was one that I self-drafted for my friend Debbie's wedding. So I don't have a final image of what it will look like when it's done, because I did draft the pattern myself back when I really didn't have a lot of idea of what I was doing. I started this on July 23rd, 2021. It's on 14 count wide Ada. One of the problems I had with this was I started changing off the patterns as I went along, just because I wasn't liking the proportions. And so now that I have a more clear idea of what I'm doing, I really need to go back and take that pattern and put it back into a pattern software and try and fix it to where I have it now, and try and fix out to the pattern to where I like it, and then move on with that. And hopefully then I can also pull a pattern that I can then put it into Pattern Keeper, so that way I can get more progress on this. The next one is the one that I actually got a lot of progress on this year. This is living room set number 2. I did buy all 4 of the sets. They're from the 4 common rooms from Hogwarts. They are by Lena Lartsova. Clearly, even with the living room rather than common room, it still probably got close enough that someone went after it, because these are no longer available. But I do have all 4 of them, and I hope to complete all 4 of them at one point so I can switch them out throughout the year. I started this on April 16th of 2023 on 14 count Black Ada. I learned a lot from this project, namely, one, the type of fabric that you use matters. Buy cheap and it is gonna affect your stitching. Number two, there's a reason why you shouldn't really just throw everything on black Aida for no reason. I really did learn about how much harder it is to work on black Aida or darker fabrics than it is for white Aida. So that did really impact how fast I was able to stitch on it. But like I said, I did get a large amount of progress on it. I stitched on this one for 38 days, putting in a total of 6,007 stitches. So now it is at 17,293 stitches of 24,627. So that's at 70.2%. And so I have a couple, I think one page fully finished and the second one that the second one needs like 2 stitches to be fully finished. And then I've been working on this upper top page here and got that one really close to a third finish. So that will be one of the focuses I have for next year, is completing it. I think I have like 7,000 stitches left in this, so I'll be looking to knock this one out and then choose one of the remaining 3 to get started on. Oh, and I use a combination of Pattern Keeper and then a stitching template on Notion. I did buy the stitching template off of the recommendation of Teresa Little Stitches, and I just figured out lately from the email that came out that I did buy it from Stitching with Naughty, who I have now started following on FlossTube, just unrelated, so that was kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, that was who I got, and I'm also watching your FlossTubes, but that was completely unrelated, so that was a fun thing. My next whip is the Wandering in Middle Earth stitch along. This was the stitch along for 2024, put on by Stuart Cunningham. So this one should be a lot further than where it is now. I don't have a picture of it because it is what he calls a Stitch Your Own Adventure, where everybody can make a whole bunch of different choices with his patterns, and then that will determine what you actually stitch. So everybody's project looks different. I did start this one on November 15th of 2023. It's on 14 count Aida that was hand dyed by me, and a lot of the progress I have lately, rather than putting in stitches into it, I have been putting the pattern into a pattern software, so that way I can get the whole pattern I need, because when you do a lot of the picking and choosing of your pattern, certain parts overlay other parts, and I always get confused about which one's supposed to be in front and which I should be stitching. So I'm trying to put it all into a pattern software, so that way I can have a complete pattern, know exactly what I'm going to stitch, and hopefully put it in the Pattern Keeper, get an exact number, stats, and just be able to move on a lot faster. So I have put in 3/4 of the top of the frame into a pattern software, and so I'm moving along with that, but that's why I haven't got a lot of progress into it lately, just because every single time I normally would work on it, I instead am inputting its pattern into the pattern software. But here is where I'm at. I'm up in the top of the frame, working on my hobbit hole, and so I have this whole tree done and started on the actual hobbit hole itself, and so I have the entirety of the hobbit hole up to around here into the pattern software. So I just need to finish out the last of the hole, which has like a little chimney option, and then I can start going down and putting the chapters in. But but I think I may try and pull out that top frame and put just that piece in the Pattern Keeper, so I can continue working on this and then work on and putting the rest of the pieces once I have some free time. So the next one, so the next one that I did was the Chase. This is by Matt Stewart. It is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I started this on May 29th of 2024. This has a total of 247,600 stitches, and I am up to, and I'm doing this on 18 count antique white Aida. I put in 421 stitches. Of those, I got 2 days on this in 2025 for a total of 219 stitches in. So this one is up in the top left corner, stitching the rocks. So this is one that I, barely feels like I've got to start on, and so I would kind of like to see a lot more progress in that. So I'm looking forward to restarting my Darkthorn Keep game and getting some progress on that. The next one I have is the Magic Book by Sacred Thread Designs. That's what it will look like when it is finished. This I'm doing on 14 count white Aida. It has 124,573 stitches. And I started this on July 2nd, 2024. And it has 700, that's not the right orientation. There we go. It has 788 stitches into it. And of those, it got 3 days of stitching in 2025 for 506 stitches. And it's now at 0.6%. I'll try to stop saying that. I would like to get back to it with every single one. Next one, I don't have a picture of what it will look like. This was the Threads of Deceit, which was a murder mystery stitch along hosted by stitchingly.com. I decided to do it on 14 count white Aida. And here is what I've got. So I got the first part that they put out done, and got a start on the second part. All of the parts have now officially came out, so I need to download the final one, and hopefully that will have all of the pieces together, and then try and put that one into Pattern Keeper and get this one knocked out. That one has been languishing in a drawer for a while. The next one that I have was the 2025 Heaven and Earth Design Stitch Along. This was Steampunk Portal by L&L Designs. It was only available through the 2025 Stitch Along. So I started this one on January 13th, 2025. I only have the first part input into Pattern Keeper, even though the whole thing is out, and I have the whole thing downloaded. I just need to put the full thing into Pattern Keeper and then export and import my progress to it so I can get the full total. But of the first part, it has 28,324 stitches, and I did 152 stitches for 0.5%. So here's my tiny little start. There we go. So I do need to get back more stitching on that, but this right here was why I wasn't gonna do this year's 2026 stitch along, because the pattern called for me, but then when I discovered it was AI designed, I just really lost any motivation to really work on it, and my steam vanished, and so I didn't get any progress into that, and so that's why I wasn't going to do it this year. because a lot of them were AI. The next one that I have is Dragon Slayer. This one is by Matt Stawicki. It was started by Heaven Up Designs. It is now retired. Matt Stawicki then went to Unconventional X Stitch, but it looks like he is now left there. So I don't know if another maker will pick him up. But this one has 291,875 stitches total. I forgot to write down when this one started. Let me pull up my Notion real fast. So I started this one on September 4th, 2025. On 18 count antique white Ada. So here is where it's looking. I am up in the top left hand corner, working on the rocks. So this one was stitched for 3 days in 2025 for 566 stitches. It's at 0.2%. The next one that I have was a start that I started on with my friend Debbie for her birthday on September 16th, 2025. So this one is Hogwarts by Dark X Stitch here on FlossTube. This is a free file on her Facebook group. It has 227,700 stitches. I did 348 stitches on it for 3 days to get it to 0.2%. And I did a bottom right start on this one because I'm down in the water that leads up to the bridge. Just because a lot of the other people who I saw starting this one cropped off the bridge just to focus more on the castle, and I really liked the bridge, so I decided to start down there and work my way up to the bridge. Didn't really quite get as much progress on that one this year as I wanted. Right after I started that, a bunch of other projects came out that I really wanted to start. So, be looking to get back, do more progress on that. The next one that I started doing, I got inspired by Joshua of Cross Stitch and Cambria here on FlossTube, which is, of course, the Nostalgic Tarot Frame by the Witchy Stitcher. I started this one on October 12th of 2025 on 16 count Black Ada that I hand dyed and then painted with gold paint to resemble a night sky. And so this one does have a it has the frame, and then it has each of the cards of the major arcana. So the frame itself has 14,685, not including the various cards. I did see on Facebook that she put out a stitch count including the entirety of it, and so I do need to grab that stitch count because I will be stitching the whole thing as one. But at the moment I just have this stitch count for the frame, which is 14,685, and so I have put in 1,118 stitches, but and most of those are within the frame. There's just 88 stitches of those that are just on the first card, the Fool, over here. But so this one got 9 days worth of stitching, 1,118 stitches, bringing it up to 7.6%. And then that brings me to my last whip, which is the House of Book Dragons by the Stitch Crypt. Here's what it will mostly look like when I am done. I did do a little bit of color changes on the dragons to make them more fitting the fire lizards from Anne McCaffrey, and then I switched out the black, what I'm viewing as magic sparkles, to the darkest purple from those dragons, just to kind of bring that color back and tie it to mine, and make the sparkles a little bit more magical. So I started this one on November 13th of 2025. 14 count Ada that was hand dyed by me. It has 5,933 stitches. So I do now have it at 2,933 stitches. This one got 25 days. There's a little bit of stitching in here since my last floss tube. I've been color completing this dark gray color, so I took and put it in these two books, then over here on this book, down on the cauldron and the potion bottles, and then I've almost got this book up here finished, and then that will finish out that gray color. Oh no, excuse me, I've got one book that goes sideways over here that also has the dark gray color, and then I can move on to the next color. So yeah, this is at 49.4%, so I'm hoping to get this one knocked out here shortly, hopefully by the end of January, so that way I can have that one up on my wall behind me as I do stitching. I do have plans to shuffle around my room a little bit, so I will have a different section behind me, and I hope that will give me a little bit more options to hang things up. So that is my stitching for 2025. That gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 whips that I am carrying with me into 2026. I do have one quasi unofficial whip that I will be taking with me into 2026. I do have this little library bookshelf that I barely started on, but it was a reading tracker style where you stitch the frame of the bookcase and then you would stitch in the books as you read them. So I need to find the pattern, number one, so that way I can give the creator credit. But then number two, I do have plans to knock out the frame and then stitch the books for 2026 as I read. Just kind of a nice little tracker there. So that is my unofficial whip that I will bring in, just because I'm really not counting it as a whip, because this really doesn't have enough progress and it's more geared towards what I want to do in 2026. For 2026 plans, as I said in my last floss tube, I will be continuing my Darkthorn Keep, which is my spin-off of Jessie Marie Does Stuff's Milestone Manor stitching game, where you explore a map, and as you enter the rooms, each room gives you a new whip that pops in as a monster that you're trying to defeat. Hers is set up for milestones. As you can see with all of them I just showed you, mine really aren't far enough along to really need milestone tracking. I just kind of really want to get some progress into them, so that way they're all not sitting down there in the low percentile numbers. So mine is all focused on just getting stitches in there, pulling them out from where I've got them put. So I am planning on taking care of that. Continuing my round robin that I'm in for Jason X Stitches stitching connection, and I'll be doing Michael from Uplift Stitches, RPG character creator, at the end of each month, keeping track of your stitches. And then, you know, that should give me a little bit of room if, you know, someone starts a sale that I want to join. I was really trying to keep free of WhipGo, because I did order an advent calendar that I'm going to get and stuff with projects to do new starts on. Unfortunately, due to a couple of people who can't put spoiler alerts on their stuff, I did find out the numbers, so I am going to have to be really careful with keeping the numbers away from me when I do that, so I make sure that everything's fair, because now I do know the numbers for January. But that will be how I want to do some new starts. I did want to have a new start, Night and Day by Yasu Artwork, by Heaven Earth Designs. I have not had a chance to start that one. That one work has just been crazy lately, what with the holidays. And then I was going to start Penance by Long Dog Samplers tomorrow. Unfortunately, I still have yet to dye my fabric for that one, so I'm hoping at least to just dye the fabric and get that one ready to start stitching soon. And the next one that I know I will officially start is Year of the Dragon by Yasu Artwork on my birthday on January 31st for my stitch along with Spicy Selena Crafts here on FlossTube. So, if you liked the projects that you saw and you want to see more of them, I will be uploading every 2 weeks on the Friday, so you can come and see the progress that I make on them. And then I will do my next Wip Parade probably in June for the mid-year Wip Parade, and then we can see what kind of progress I've made. So thank you all for coming, and happy stitching.